Hey, 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 happy Wargame Wednesday. Pull up a chair. Come on in. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Tonight is Wednesday, May 29th, 2019. This is episode 310 of The Daily Dope. And of course, I'm your host, Jeff McAleer. I am the Grand Poobah of the Gaming Gang. So it is Wednesday night. Wednesdays mean war games here on The Daily Dope. And tonight will not be an exception because we'll be taking a look at, Rifles in the Pacific, which is from my friends over at Tiny Battle Publishing. Yes, this just arrived in the mail yesterday, and just came out a few days ago, I do believe. So it has not been out a very long time. Do want to point out, if you are watching live, that there is chat available on YouTube. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of these stranger commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to the chat. So if you'd like to say hello, or maybe you've got a question, or possibly there's something about Rifles in the Pacific you'd like to get a closer look at, by all means, chime in and I will respond. If you like the video, please give it a quick thumbs up. If you check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you happen to like them, by all means, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that little bell, because that will notify you not only when there's a new video that comes up, it'll also tell you when I go live. So within about 5 minutes or so. So hey, Rob Moffat's popping in to chat. I knew Rob would be here. It's a Wargame Wednesday. So yes, hi Rob. So anyway, as I was saying, so if you do subscribe, be sure to tell a friend. In fact, tell 2 friends. In fact, don't just tell them about the Gaming Gang channel here on YouTube. Be sure to mention thegaminggang.com, where a lot of stuff goes on that's not on the show. So as I pointed out, tonight, I am going to be taking a look at Rifles in the Pacific from Tiny Battle Publishing. And you know what? They just happen to be one of our sponsors tonight. That's right, because Wargame Wednesdays are sponsored by both of Mark H. Walker's companies, both Flying Pig Games as well as Tiny Battle Publishing. So, as I mentioned, Rifles in the Pacific is from Tiny Battle Publishing. There is a new Herman Lettman design, which is coming out. I believe it's going to ship out on June 6th. There will be some copies at Origins as well. It is the first day of Gettysburg, and it is it's the Devils to Pay. So, and I mean, as in, you have to pay the devil, not the Devils to pay like his hairpiece, right? So, the Devils to Pay. So that is going to be available in limited quantities at Origins Game Fair. So I do want to point out, if you are planning on going to Origins, you want to swing by the Flying Pig Games / Tiny Battle Publishing booth as soon as you can, because that will sell out pretty damn quick. So we've got Dan from No Enemies Here is popping in. Rob gets so excited for Wargame Wednesdays. I don't know. And okay, so I have to point out, because I get chatty. Somebody sent me a really nasty comment on YouTube on one of the videos. It was a Wargame Wednesday video, and they hate the chat. They hate that I chat with people during the show, and it's kind of like, sorry then. You know what? Just don't watch my show then. There's plenty of other people out there that you can go watch, and they produce shows about war games and stuff. Dan's one of them. Dan does mainly news, though. He doesn't do a lot of reviews and stuff. But by all means, go, check those out. Don't give me a hard time because I'm chatting with people on a live stream. What am I supposed to do, right? Ignore people? But I get a kick out of it because Rob's like, yeah, normie games are okay. It's sort of like, well, those are board games. People think war games are a little, that's a really small niche of the hobby. Even though I love my war games. I loves my war games. So, got some news for us tonight. I'm going to jump into that in just a bit. This is going to be the last show for a while. So, if you have been following the Daily Dope, you do know that I am heading off to Arizona to drive cross country to move my mom back from the Phoenix area to the Chicagoland area after, my mom's been out there 33 years-ish, somewhere around there. I lived out in Arizona for about 10 years myself, so anyway, but I'll get into that in just a bit. But we're going to jump into the news. Do want to mention, if you are one of these folks who do not like the tabletop gaming news of the day, by all means, look in the show notes. Once the show's been rendered for about an hour after the show airs, I have the show notes up there, so you can skip right ahead. You don't have to check out the tabletop gaming news of the day, but I got some cool news. So first off, the second edition of D-Day Dice is on the horizon, and I've got the dope. The new version of D-Day Dice, published by WordForge Games, sees new art, missions, tiles, and dice. It is fully compatible with the previous version, but it adds new mechanics and play concepts to the highly successful D-Day Dice franchise. More on the success of the franchise in just a bit. Normandy, June 6th, 1944. As you land on the well-defended beaches, a German machine gun nest is killing your comrades like flies. You must do something! That just doesn't seem written right. That just killing your comrades like flies? I don't know. Sounds a little weird. In D-Day Dice, players are allied soldiers trying to organize improvised units for an attack against the machine gun nest. Each player starts the game with a unit of a few soldiers and nothing else. As the game progresses, he will collect resources and advance on the beach, sector by sector, as his unit grows stronger and deadlier. He will succeed, or die trying. D-Day Dice is a multiplayer co-op game in which all players play their turns simultaneously and must help each other in order to stay alive. It also includes optional solitaire rules. Yay! Although built around dice rolling, this game is about resource management, soldiers, specialists, items, and courage. I guess courage is a limited resource at times. And knowing when to move your unit. Resources are kept from turn to turn so the players can plan ahead. I would hope so. D-Day Dice is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in about 45 minutes. It will carry an MSRP of $60 when it arrives this September. Dan from No Enemies here says, my wife and I really enjoyed this game in the first edition. So Rob says, that killing your comrades like flies does sound weird, doesn't it? Okay, so I was going to mention something about the success of the franchise, because when I first heard that this second edition of D-Day Dice was coming, I had to make sure that the company that was releasing it was legit, because I'm sure Dan probably remembers this, maybe Rob does too. You may recall Valley Games, and I can't remember what they changed their name to too, but they had 2 Kickstarters. They originally released D-Day Dice. But they had a couple of Kickstarters. One was for Airborne in My Pocket, which was another dice game. It was supposed to be a small dice game. And then there was also Up Front that was supposed to be printed from Avalon Hill, which I had pointed out at the time that I didn't see that happening because there was no way this company had the rights to print that game. Turned out I was correct. But they raised like over $1 million. I think it was like $1.8 million between the 2 Kickstarters. And the owner of the company just took off. Yes, moved to Australia with the dough, and nobody got anything. Although I do understand that Upfront, the folks at Hasbro did make that available. You can get that on Wargame Vault, print on demand, and or print and play, I should say. And I think Airborne in My Pocket did get released too. So, hey, Lead Magnets popping in. Yes, definitely an interesting history behind D-Day Dice. Maybe not the game itself, but at least the original publishers of it. So, so Led says they were burned by Upfront and Valley Games, but it wasn't Valley Games. They changed the name to something else because Valley Games was in financial trouble, and so they figured they'd start a new company, and it was just crazy. But I'm sorry to read here that Led got burned by that too. You know, the funny thing was, and I will jump out of this for a second, since we're kind of on the topic here. So, WordForge Games is legit. They've been around for a while. They've got games that are out there. They do some miniatures. They do some minis for Gaslands, which is the Osprey Games car combat game. So pretty cool there. They have their own kind of car combat game. So they are not like, going to abscond with your funds, because this is actually orders are being taken from distributors for this. So I actually got this news from a distributor. So should be legit. Shouldn't be anything. It's not Kickstarter, right? It's coming to stores as far as I know. But I remember it. I've mentioned this before. I had said that there was no way that Valley Games / whatever the company was going to be able to publish Upfront. And I got savaged on Board Game Geek and on Consim World. And it was like, who the F does this guy think he is? And blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I mean, people were really nasty. I got some nasty emails and stuff like that. And I was just like, hey, it's like, I'm just laying out what I think. And it turned out it was right. I was not gloating about being right, because I was not happy to see all these people out of luck. But I was trying to tell people, don't be sinking all this money into this Kickstarter, because it may not ever come about. So, and Hubcam 210 has arrived. Welcome back. I do recall Hubcam 210 joined us on a previous show. So thanks for coming back and joining me in chat. So let's jump back on into the news, because it's Wargame Wednesday. I know the grown-yards are out there. They're going to be pumped about my next news piece. Get ready for it, because, that's right, this October, WizKids will be releasing unpainted My Little Pony Friendship is Magic miniatures. And I've got the dope. Since its launch in 2010, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has been teaching the world about the power of friendship. WizKids has teamed up with Hasbro to release a line of My Little Pony unpainted miniatures that you can paint at home. Where else would you be painting them? My Little Pony themed deep cuts unpainted miniatures lets fans get creative with their favorite ponies and decorate them any way they want. Each miniature comes pre-primed and ready to paint right out of the box. The included decals and stickers of cutie marks help to complete each pony's signature look. Now fans can come up with a look for their favorite pony that's at least 20% cooler. Good news, WizKids will be providing support for in-store painting experiences appropriate for longtime fans or parents looking for a great My Little Pony experience to share with their child, in which case the fun has been doubled. Details are still to be determined, so stay tuned for more information. The first wave will include, ready for it, get ready, Twilight Sparkle, Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, Applejack, and Rarity, and each My Little Pony Friendship is Magic unpainted miniature will carry an MSRP of $4.99 when they begin arriving in October. So, okay. I thought it was kind of funny to kind of, that's Wargame Wednesday. But I will admit, and no, WizKids is never on board with me as far as doing review stuff. Not that I'd be begging them to do reviews of these minis. But I am really surprised that no one up until this point had thought of doing My Little Pony unpainted minis. Wouldn't you think that would make complete sense? Especially giving kids the opportunity to create their own kind of ponies, right? I don't know. I gotta admit, $5 for an unpainted mini that's pre-primed. That's a pretty good deal. That is a pretty sweet deal. So sculpts look pretty cool. I'll have to admit, I am not a brony by any stretch of the imagination, but I have seen a few episodes of the show because, of course, I would babysit my niece, and she watches My Little Pony. I don't think she watches it anymore, but back in the day, she watched it quite a bit, a lot. So it's a fine show. It's fine. I think it's okay. I don't make fun of people who are adults who like the cartoon. It's okay. Okay, so let's get back to a little more serious gaming news, because Cubicle 7 Entertainment is going to be releasing a limited edition of the Enemy Within campaign, and I've got the dope. Cubicle 7 Entertainment is proud to announce the Enemy Within Collector's Edition, a magnificent 10-book set presented in 5 gloriously illustrated slipcases. Yes, those illustrations are glorious. At the appointed time, we shall rise from our secret places and throw down the towns and cities of the Empire. Chaos will cover this land, and we, the chosen servants, shall be exalted in his eyes. Hail to Zixik, changer of the ways. Now, Empire's. I don't know, it's just a bunch of crazy words, and I'm just trying to pronounce them. The Enemy Within Collector's Edition contains the revised and updated director's cut of one of the most highly regarded role-playing campaigns ever written. It also includes 5 bonus companion volumes filled with commentaries, additional material, new subplots, and characters, and so much more. The pre-order for the Enemy Within Collector's Edition Volume 1, Enemy in Shadows, costs $149.99. The pre-order for the entire set is $749.95. It includes all 5 collector edition slipcases containing the 5 collector editions of the Enemy Within, as well as the 5 companions. These will start releasing in Q3. So I do believe the first part of the Enemy Within is going to arrive at Gen Con. Fingers crossed at Gen Con, because last year they were hoping to have the core book for 4th edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay for Gen Con, and they didn't. So I kind of felt a little bad for my pal Dominic McDowell over at Cubicle 7. So Rob Moffat's like, whoa! Money, money, money! And I guess Rob's daughters used to collect those ponies. Yeah, like I said, My Little Pony's fine. So, people out there who might be freaking out about this, holy cow, $750 for this. This is a special collector's edition. These are not the standard copies of the game. These are not going to be the standard books. So there is going to be just the regular print run of each of the 5 parts to the director's cut, which is, my understanding is the ending is completely different. The ending is completely rewritten because the folks who were involved, who are still involved in gaming, because some of the authors, one of the authors I believe has passed away, and another is no longer involved in the hobby, wants no part of being in the hobby either. But Graham Davis, for example, is one of the people who was working on this director's cut. Supposedly the original ending was not what they wanted, that it was just completely changed from what they were hoping for. And there are a lot of people out there who feel that that's like the kind of letdown. It's kind of anticlimactic, that it's a great campaign up until the final book, the final like adventure series, and it kind of fizzles out a little bit. So this is very cool. The reason why I had heard that Cubicle 7 is doing this is because their collector's edition for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition just blew the doors off and was sold out super fast. So they figure there's a market for it. So pretty cool. I guarantee you I will not be reviewing the collector's editions. That will not be happening. I'll get the regular books. That I will get. In fact, I do have the starter set in transit right now coming to me for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So we will be taking a look at that once I get back. All right, so my final news piece. The design mechanism has 2 new source books for the RuneQuest-based Mithras role-playing game. Here's the dope. First up is the Mithras Companion. The Mithras Companion provides Mithras Games Masters, want to be game masters? With additional mechanics for their games, expanding the scope of the acclaimed D100 system. A collection of, darn it. Why did that pop up there? That is not supposed to be in here. That's from yesterday's show. There we go. I thought I had everything set up. That one slipped under the radar. Anyway, a collection of material published in previous supplements and new material written specifically for this book. The Mithras Companion includes tactical combat, social conflict, sanity and corruption, which I have certainly lost my sanity, vehicle rules, race and chase mechanics, new character creation options for pulp heroes. The 56-page Mithras Companion is available for $5.99 from Drive-Thru RPG. Yes, hey, it is live. It is not Memorex. Then there is Sorendib. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Sorendib is an ancient city in catastrophic decline. The surrounding country has been laid waste by years of banditry and civil strife. The city itself is rife with factions, lawlessness, and social unrest. Kind of like Detroit. Large areas are effectively abandoned or under the control of the local gangs. Just like Detroit. I'm teasing. I am teasing. Just as the Emperor owes his immortality to magic provided by the King of Sorendib, the city will surely play some sort of role in his final ascension to the heavens. The Iron Simulacrum himself looks to Sorendib as a place he will discover his fate when the Emperor departs the physical plane, where he might be unmade in such a way as to find the key to a continued existence as an independent soul. Sorendib could be the scene of treason on a world-shattering scale. The cult of Thesh and Taske has its eye on direct control not only of the artificers, but of the fire demon Sorentar, who's the city's god. Sorendib is, in short, a powder keg and ripe for adventure. This Thenla supplement details Sorendib, its people, districts, cults, gods, factions, and magic. New rules are provided for artificers, alchemy, and new spells and miracles. 3 self-contained adventures take the adventurers on a raid for a fabled tome to involving them in a nefarious plot by dark forces. Finally, encounters for the frontier lands introduce dangerous new magicians and factions. The 111-page PDF is available for $13.99 from Drive-Thru RPG. I've heard good things about Mithras. I always liked RuneQuest. I've always been a RuneQuest fan. No doubt about that one. I had the original. I guess it wasn't original because it's probably about 1980, but I got the box set. So I always liked the D100 system. And of course, I ran Call of Cthulhu for decades. So of course, I dig the D100 system. So I've heard Mithras is pretty cool. I want to say, and I'm not overly familiar with the setting, but I believe it's more of a high fantasy sort of setting as opposed to Glorantha, I think it's pronounced, for RuneQuest, which is very kind of Bronze Age. I mean, there's still gods and magic and things like that, but it's very, very kind of Bronze Age. Very cool. Very, very cool. Boy, Greg Stafford spent decades putting work into that whole setting. Rest his soul. But, yeah, I've heard Mithras is pretty cool. Rob Moffat says he's heading to Michigan this August for Gathering of Corsairs Air Show. Cool! As long as it's not in Detroit. I'm teasing. I'm just joking. I have nothing against Detroit. I'm not a Chicagoan who dislikes other cities. I've got nothing against other cities, really. So, usually about this point, I'd be talking about what's coming up on the show, but I will not be around for about a week. So I am flying out to Arizona to drive back with my mom. So that is going to be taking up the rest of this week because we're going to leave on Friday. So hopefully, fingers crossed, be back on Sunday because I'm supposed to be going to the Cubs game on Monday afternoon. So planning on doing that. Go see Mike Trout and the Angels. Yes. So anyway, so I will not have a show until next Tuesday at the earliest. So as far as what's cooking, though, I can tell you what'll be on the next Wargame Wednesday. We'll take a look at Fields of Fire 2 from GMT Games. This actually arrived in the mail today. So we will be taking a look at that on Wargame Wednesday. I believe on Thursday we will probably be looking at the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition Starter Set, because I'm sure that'll have arrived by then. I don't know. We'll see what's going on, but it's kind of funny. I mean, a lot of times I don't know what I'm doing in 2 days. I know what I'm doing on next Wednesday's show. So yes, thank you, Rob. I will definitely do my best to make sure it is safe travels. So, as I mentioned, I was talking about Origins Game Fair, and I'm still up in the air on actually attending Origins Game Fair. I did point out on the gaminggang.com, I do have a posting of some games that I am selling that I have done reviews for, or they happen to be extra copies I received to try to finance my trip to Origins. So it's Wargame Wednesday. I'm not going to go through the whole listing of the games that are available. I will just talk about the war games that I've got that if you go to the gaminggang.com, either the front landing page or if you go to an interior page, you will see there's a little ad showing some games. But I do have from GMT, I've got Ardennes 44, the 3rd edition. It's brand new in shrink. I've got Labyrinth, the War on Terror, the latest print run from GMT. That's also new in shrink. Do want to point out there's an expansion for Labyrinth that's up on the P500 for GMT. I believe it's the Forever War on Terror or something like that, or the Forever War. Jeez. I've also got the Panzer expansion number 4, 1940. That is also new in shrink. I've got Time of Crisis second printing and the Time of Iron and Rust expansion together. Those are unpunched. I've got Cataclysm, a Second World War, which I did review, as well as Fort Sumter, the Secession Crisis, which a lot of people love. It just wasn't me. You know what? I mean, people are busting my chops because I think it's a good game. I just don't think it's like a phenomenal classic like other people, but I got a particular taste, I guess. I also have Skies Above the Reich. This is the second printing, which is now out of print, and from UGG Games, which are actually released through GMT. I have Fortress Sevastopol, and that is unpunched. So I've got quite a few that are out there. It is basically a first come, first served. My good friend Herman Lutman already picked up the Shadows of Brimstone, Swamps of Death. So he was getting a good deal on that. So he already got dibs on that one. So yeah, so if you'd like to see some Origins game coverage in any of these games, kind of float your boat, please go to thegaminggang.com and check out the list. There's a bunch of other RPGs and board games. I've got my limited edition copy of Ghosts of Saltmarsh for 5th edition D&D up there, and I am not charging anything extra for it because the limited editions usually go for about 100 to 120 at one point because there aren't that many of them. So yeah, that's just regular retail price. Anyway, so just yeah, there's some good games there. Thanks, Rob. So we will see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, trying to get to Origins. I'm not one of these guys who sits there and bangs on people's heads about Patreon or. I think September I'm going to do a Kickstarter. I think I really am going to do a Kickstarter for my 10th year of covering board games, because I have never once years ago, and there was more for Elliot Miller, who's my best friend now. He's over at Voice of E. But we did a little Kickstarter for Gen Con. But anyway, so Rob's asking if I'm. Oh, sorry. Dan's asking about WBC coverage. So wait a second. So Dan, aren't you going to WBC? Can't you cover it? I mean, I don't know. WBC just falls at the wrong time. This is what, with a lot of these conventions and stuff, it's sort of like, don't you guys think about this like ahead of time? So for an example, yes, Dan says he's going to WBC only if I go, which that takes place right at the same time as Origins, I do believe. But yeah, sometimes these conventions are pretty wacky because seems like Origins always, the Sunday of Origins always falls on Father's Day. Well, I go out to Comic-Con one of the days out in San Diego, happens to be my dad's birthday. Then a lot of times we've come back from San Diego Comic-Con and had like a week to regenerate, and then it's Gen Con. That is not necessarily how it's working out this year. I don't even know if I'm going to go to San Diego Comic-Con, even though we got our press passes. We do have the press passes. Okay, so before I jump into my first look at Rifles in the Pacific, do want to point out that if you watch the Daily Dope, if you visit thegaminggang.com, you know it's pretty much a not-for-profit endeavor. So if you do like the show, if you like the website, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Yes, Lil Bub's Big Fund does provide grant monies for organizations that care for special needs animals around the United States. And who better to hear from than Lil Bub herself? All right, once again, like I said, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. If you do happen to make a small donation, please shoot me an email. My email address is right there in the corner. It's jeffmcaleer at thegaminggang.com. And let me know you made a donation. I will give you a special shout out on the following show. Which, funny enough, I get people tell me, they're like, yeah, I made a donation, but you don't have to say anything. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Alrighty. So, funny enough, I guess, Lil Bub, good old Lil Bub, where do I got? Yeah, I got Lil Bub's book over here. Lil Bub herself is turning 8 years old. I guess they're going to have there's a big party. I think it's out in California. So, and it's like really like limited number of people. So, but I thought that was pretty wild because she's turning 8, and I guess everybody expected the cat to live about 6 months. It's had all these different things go wrong, and she's still been able to leave through it. So, anyway, looks like we had a little drop here, a little bit of a drop with the stream. Hopefully everything's cool. Anyway, all right, Dan is taking off, so catch you later, Dan. See you next week. So you have a good one. Anyway, what was it? There was something else I was going to mention. Oh, my email address, right? So I've got the mailbag email address. So it's mailbag@thegaminggang.com. Kind of like a catch-all sort of thing. I actually had somebody email me, a woman email me asking about AEG's Big Game Night 2019. She said she was emailing for her grandson, and she was curious, when was it, or when did it already take place? I was like, oh, okay. So I was gonna write back And I suddenly got another email popped up, said, "Oh no, forget it. My grandson wants to buy Keyforge." It's like, okay. It's like, all right. So it was very strict, because it wasn't like, "Oh, hi Jeff," or "hello," or anything like that. It was just very blunt. "Hey, where do I go get this?" Like I own a store or something like that. So I was like, uh-huh. So, all right. Anyway, I'm sure there are quite a few people who are going to be tuning in to check out Rifles in the Pacific from Tiny Battle Publishing. It's designed by Gottardo Zancani. Hopefully, I'm close to being correct on that pronunciation. And why is this doing that? Ah, for crying out loud. All right, that's what happens when you come running downstairs with a few minutes to go before the show starts. Anyway, the game is for one player. Yes, it is solitaire. It's for ages 12 and up. Plays in 1 to 2 hours, and it does carry an MSRP of $33. Do want to mention, as far as I understand, this is not available on Wargame Vault as a print and play just yet. And so we shall see. All right, so let's move on over to the other camera here, because I got this all set up. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of the Ziploc bag. So as I had mentioned, as I'm pulling this out, Herman Luttman's latest design is coming from Tiny Battle Publishing. It will be Tiny Battle Publishing's first boxed game. Yes, first box game for Tiny Battle Publishing. So I found that kind of interesting. It's almost like, of course, and they're completely different companies. And of course, Mark has a company that does release box games. But I was going to say, almost reminds me a little bit of Victory Point Games. When back in the day I was covering Victory Point Games, and they were all small poly bag games. Some of them were bigger, but not of the quality that we see with Tiny Battle Publishing, though. The games were almost along the lines of like desktop published games, although the gameplay was great. That was the whole thing. So, and yes, at least I didn't run with scissors. No, I try not to run with scissors, Rob. So let's take a look. Oh, we got nothing on the back, so there's no sell sheet info on the back. So let's take a look at the rules. Not a lot to them. This is the follow-up to Rifles in the Ardennes, thanks to Dan at No Enemies Here, who's already taken off. He pointed that out yesterday, because I couldn't remember exactly the title of the first game. And I think there's a third one that is in the works as well. So Rob Moffat's asking about Crowbar. I don't know what's going on with Crowbar. I don't know if that's going to be at Origins or what. I thought that's the next release from Flying Pig Games, but I'm not positive. So one thing I should point out, if I do go to Origins, obviously enough, I will do my annual interview with Mark H. Walker as well as Herman Luttman. So should be pretty cool. I'm sure I'll take a guess. I would think that they'll have Crowbar there, because Mark has to have something to draw people in to the booth. So I would hope that would be it. Because last year they were showing off Crowbar before the Kickstarter, but there weren't. I think Old School Tactical Volume 2 was what they had there. I don't think that was the release there, but that's what they had there. All right, so looks like this is kind of a mission booklet. So these are not the rules. This is a mission booklet. So looks like we've got a good number of missions in here. Cool. I like Pacific games in World War II setting. We don't see enough of them. And I wonder if it's because kind of trying to simulate that whole jungle warfare is kind of tough. I don't know. I have no idea. But it always seems like, well, then again, of course, the the Germans were fighting the Germans was a lot different than fighting the Japanese during World War II, at least as far as the Americans were concerned. So I don't know. I just find it a little unusual that we don't see more Pacific. And I'm talking about like the Marines and stuff like that. I'm not talking about like the Pacific War, like naval. We see plenty of that. Now I'm talking about like, Okinawa, Guadalcanal, things like that. So Rob Moffat says last year it was OST2 at Origins. That's what I thought. But normally most game companies, especially ones that are not huge game companies, they really do need to have some sort of a release when they go to the conventions, because how else are they going to pull people in? Yes, Rob, you are correct. Old School Tactical 3 is the Pacific. That's one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to it. So anyway, so it looks like we've got a good number of scenarios in here, different missions in here. So we got 8 in total. We've got Jungle Patrol, Riverbank, Capture the Bridge, Wave Zero, Demolition Squad, Radio Station, Casualty Evacuation, and Line of Fire. Okay, so we've got that. Here's the rule book. Look at that. There we go. Ha! It was like hidden underneath. So here's the rule book. This isn't really that thick either, so let's take a look to see what we've got here. Rifles in the Pacific is the second title in the Theaters of War series. These rules represent our effort to create a simple solitaire system which recreates small combat engagements, 5 to 10 units per side. The rules have been designed to cover many periods: the World Wars, classical battles, science fiction, fantasy, and more. Rifles in the Pacific covers the Pacific theater of World War II, focusing on the years 1943 to 45. Cool. So it's showing us the units. There isn't a ton of information on the units. So we've got terrain, map cards. So the map cards are divided into 6 horizontal stripes numbered from 1 to 6, and always referred to in these rules preceded by a hashtag. So I sort of have the impression, now I might be wrong because I have not played Rifles in the Ardennes, as Rob points out. Next, Band of Brothers is Pacific from Worthington Games. Another company I've not been able to get on board with. I don't know. I do not know why. I will point out, I will be honest, that one of the owners, because it's a husband and wife, had made some sort of a comment on Twitter that was, I misread it. Or at least after the fact, the husband was saying, well, no, that's not what I was saying. So, but he was kind of pissed at me. So it was like, because it was coming across as like, oh, woe is me or something like that. And it was kind of like, I think he was complaining about reviewers. So, I don't know. I forget what it was, but he was like, came back like, what the F are you? And I'm like, dude, you're the one who tweeted that. I'm just, I'm just commenting. So we've got, anyway, I was going to say, I kind of get the feeling that this range of bands is sort of like how close are the enemies to you sort of thing. So we got a terrain list. There's barbed wire, line of sight, game sequence. We have the mission setup, squad selection, mission execution, and mission briefing for the campaign game only. Okay, so we've got event markers, squad selection there, mission execution, talking about the game turn. So you have group creation, friendly units activation, enemy presence check, enemy forces activation, and then advance of the game turn marker. Don't forget to do that. Let's see what else we got here. Talking about activating friendly units. friendly unit actions, enemy presence check, enemy entrance. We got event markers, enemy force activation, hopeless enemy attacks. Which, there were times the Japanese did do that. So we've got recon points. Here's a combat procedure here. So we got target selection, attack rolls. We got area effects. We've got suppression, cover fire, close combat, special weapons like grenades, anti-tank mines. We've got vehicle combat, vehicles in cover, hidden units. Looks like there's quite a bit to this. Got leadership, night rules, sea terrain marker. So Rob says they should do a rifles if the mobile infantry and do it old school Robert Heinlein Starship Trooper style. And yes, Rob, yeah, reviewers only help the hobby. That's true. I know Mark H. Walker has pointed that out a few times. In fact, just recently, somebody was talking about, on Twitter again, they were talking about how you want to get rid of a content creator. Start talking about transparency and the relationships that reviewers have with publishers and money changing hands and things like that, and you watch them scurry off. And I had tweeted back, I said, well, not all of us go scurrying off from the light of day. Not everybody covering the hobby is in the pockets of somebody else. So anyway, so we got experience points. That's kind of cool. Talking about the campaign too, we got a unit roster sheet. We've got a couple. So we got friendly roster. Was this enemy roster? No. It's the same. Nice. Cool. So you just print this up, have this close by. It's got your combat tables and everything on it. You got your roster here. You got your roster enemy units as they probably come out. So that's cool. So we got that. So we got 2 booklets in this. So Rob says, I want to say this game used bands of range, kind of upfront style for relative positions. That's what I kind of figure. That's what I kind of get the impressions of for as well. Okay, so we've got those. Now we've got some unit cards. We got some punch boards as well. So we've got Commonwealth troops. And then it's showing what they're armed with. And type of unit. So we've got B and A. Showing us the range, combat factors, different attributes, equipment. Okay, so that's for the Commonwealth. Then we got United States Marines, 1943. Let's move some of this stuff out of the way here. So we got like a patrol table, tank table, anti-tank teams, full squads, Special Navy landing forces. That's pretty cool. Nice. So that's 1943. Once again, going through all this different equipment. Then we've got the Imperial Japanese Army, 1943. So we've got all of their equipment as well. We got another unit roster. This one's in color. And on the back of this, we get an Army sheet overview. So it's telling us all about these sheets here. So that's nice. Then we've got 2 of these. So we've got A. These are the ranged bands here. So this one's A. We've also got B. This looks like, okay. So this is in the jungle. This looks like this is an amphibious landing, because this looks like this is the sea. That's the beach. And we've got C, and that looks like that is almost like volcanic. So that might be what the island that's supposed to be. So Lead Magnet says rifles in the Ardennes was not one of their favorites. So we'll have to see what Lead says about that in just a sec. Let's take a peek at some of the counters here. So we've got, we'll zoom in. Why not? We'll zoom in. Take a better look. So we've got, these are Commonwealth. Okay, so submachine gun rifles, Lee Enfields, anti-tank, flamethrower, light machine gun, Bren's, dual-sided. So we've got medium tank. Oh yeah, okay. So these are all different. These are all different. So it's not, it doesn't look like there's a step reduction. Because here we've got, this is with a submachine gun. And that's with a rifle. I believe these represent individual soldiers. I might be wrong. I don't know. So we've got that. So we've got, those are the Commonwealth. Then we've got American and Japanese. So you got the Americans here. These are Marines. So, and once again, I dig where they've got like a silhouette of the soldier. I like that. One of the things when I saw the, what is it, Operation Icarus, which is the new game coming from, I think it's Tiny Battle. It's not Flying Pig Games. Yeah, it's Tiny Battle. So I was going to say, I like how they, they had, armor. They were showing tanks. They had different ships. And then all of a sudden, it's like, all of a sudden we get the, the iconography again for infantry and artillery and stuff. And I was like, rats. So Rob asks, what's the MSRP on this? It is $33. So I noticed it's not on sale currently just yet. Might be, because a lot of times you'll see Tiny Battle Publishing. A lot of times, like at $33, they'll drop it down to like $29 for a couple of weeks. But it is not currently on sale, and as I mentioned, it's not available, as far as I saw, yet on Wargame Vault as far as a print and play. So we've got the Japanese troops. We've got jungles. So we got some of these terrain counters. Nice thick counters. So I know Mark Walker kind of gave me a hard time because I had mentioned that with the Tiny Battle Publishing counters were kind of thin. I mean, this is like one of their first games were coming out, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, they're not too thin." Well, they're thicker now. I can tell you that. So, Lead Magnet says the game is Rifles in the Ardennes was light and abstracted. No real sense of positioning, not enough tactics at that level. Kind of like a further abstracted Fields of Fire in regards to terrain. Oh, okay. So, there you have it. Lead has made their point about what they didn't like about Rifles in the Ardennes. So, I have not played the Rifles series, so I am going to check this out. Of course, it's going to be a while, because of course I'm going to be on the road. But so we got that. Then we also have another. We've got numbers. These must be for events. We've got your game turn marker, suppression, more terrain counters there as well. Different kind of terrain counters on the back. Zoinks! What's that? I don't know. So we got cover fire, Overwatch, hidden units as well. So we've got the 2.5 little counter sheets here with these are big chunky counters. These are about, it's an inch, 3/4 of an inch. And then we've got the army sheet overview. We've got the different army sheets. We've got the 3 different terrain bands here. We've got the scenario book. Let's zoom out a little bit more. There we go. And then we've got the rule book. And that is what we find when we take a look at everything in Rifles in the Pacific from Tiny Battle Publishing. As I mentioned before, this is a solitaire game. It's for ages 12 and up. Plays in about an hour or two. And it does carry an MSRP of $33. So stay tuned. I will have a review of this in the very near future. So, let's take a look here. So, Led says you might want to wait to see the outcome of the production problems with the FOF2. You mean Fields of Fire 2? We'll be looking at this. Be looking at this next Wednesday when I get back. So yeah, the first Fields of Fire. I've got it. I have it. I started looking through the rule book and I was like, whoa, my eyes started glazing over. So there were some issues as far as like just rules, clarity, and things like that. So I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, okay, so that is it for tonight's show. As I like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, please visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. I will not be back until June 4th. So, everyone in chat, thank you very much for keeping me company. Everyone else who's watching live or after the fact, thank you very much for watching. Everybody take care. I will see you in about a week. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.